Go. What is up, everybody? Welcome to the Beer Flow Podcast. This is your boy Greg. I know, it has been a while. One of the greatest things I've been told as far as, I don't want to say criticism, but maybe just explanations or maybe just overall observations of the podcast in general is that my bro, shout out to Jacob, is that he played the podcast, or he played the Beer Flow podcast to one of his boys that is a fan of just podcasts in general. And one of the things that he noticed is that I guess in one of the early podcasts I had apologized about something, and okay, I get that. If I'm wrong, I will be apologetic, and I get that. But one of the criticisms that he gave was that don't be apologetic. Be absolutely forthright and be stern and be behind your convictions and don't apologize for what you believe, say, or whatever the case is. So I get that. So that being said, I understand that it has been a while between season 1 and season 2. I get that. I totally get that. And for that, I will say, I'm sorry. Einstein and I had, I'm sorry, let's rephrase that. Einstein and Real Deal and I had a distinct plan as far as how we wanted season 2 to go down. We had plans, we had meetings, we had a format, we had a structured timeline. We knew exactly how it was going to go down. Okay, so it did not go down that way. Truth be told, and this is why I'm here, this is what I'm saying, I will let you know. Period. Next paragraph. One of the things that Einstein had brought up to me a long time ago is that he had mentioned to me, when we do the podcast, more so when I speak about or when I talk about the podcast, make it about the audience. Do not make it about myself, because the audience is really who we're trying to capture. The audience is who we're talking to. This is for the audience. Make this about them. And I get that. I totally get that. But when I listen to podcasts, one of the things I've always noticed is that the thing that has always attracted me to podcasts is that the personality or the character or even just the overall backstory behind the person doing the podcast. That's what really reeled me in. Somebody can sit there and say something about any kind of whatever subject they're trying to convey, whatever they're explaining, whatever picture they're trying to paint. I get that. I would, it's fair to say that I've given our audience, a fair assessment as far as what we're about. Why? It's one thing to sit there and say, well, I think this, I think that, this is why. But here's exactly as to why I think this. This is exactly why I say this. This is the background to it. I love the craft beer. It always have since I first started getting into it. And, that's one whole thing. To make it personal, make it about me, I recently had an injury. If you've caught some of our older episodes, you know that I've mentioned the fact that I am a type 2 diabetic. That being said, I recently had a stint in the hospital. Now, for those of you that have never been in the hospital, let me quickly break it down. If for some reason you're in the hospital, and my experience as far as like being in the hospital was exactly like a scene out of the old show ER. just 5, 6 doctors poking and prodding, doing whatever they got to do. One or two maybe contacting you, one or two maybe acknowledging you, one or two maybe taking you off to another room saying you have to take this test, do it, whatever. End of the day, if you don't take care of yourself, you will spend a weekend in the hospital. If you have an open wound, even a small open wound on the bottom of your big toe. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, that is exactly what happened to me. So now you understand why I have a certain fondness for anything that is pro type 2 diabetic advocation, advocacy. I don't know if advocation is a word, but I know that advocacy is. So it sucked. I was literally in a hospital for a weekend. Changed my life. It's kind of been crazy because since then I've kind of had to reevaluate everything. Like, okay, so I have to change my diet. I have to take these kidney pills, heart pills, and you bet your sweet ass the first thing I asked my doctor when they started doing all these tests on me was, okay, doc, how's my heart and how's my liver? The minute the doctor said my liver is good, there we go. The beer flow will still go on. Sweet. Heart was good. Okay, that was almost secondary. It's a little funny, but you know what makes jokes funny is the truth that's in the joke. So, that being said, we're all good. So, Einstein, Real Deal, and I are back. Ladies and gentlemen, we are back. I've completely healed up, and I will say, long story, or long way around the world to tell a story. I'm sorry it's taken this long. Yes, I know it's been months. Hear how I articulated that. Yeah, it's been months since we last spoke, or since you've last heard from me. And not that I'm trying to get on my own high horse as far as like, you know me, I'm celebrity, but I'm not celebrity. Trust me, I do not believe that. But it's been a while, and okay, so here's where the truth comes out. In the hospital, TV sucked, and yeah, I had internet, kind of whatever, but there was a lot of self reflection, a lot of introspective, a lot of thoughts and evaluation I had to do upon myself, and yeah, we were at a really good spot as far as the podcast went, and we had a direction that we wanted to go into, and this was a major setback. We didn't know. Well, Einstein had an idea as to where he wanted us to go, and I got shook. Not gonna lie, I got shook. I did not. There was a genuine fear of mortality. There was an evaluation of mortality. There was just a whole lot of introspective reflection that went on, and yeah, not gonna lie, I was a little bit scared, maybe a little nervous and whatever, but two good things came out of it. One, I had a lot of ideas as far as what and where I wanted the show, as far as the Beer Flow podcast. I had an idea as to where I wanted that to go, and touching base with Einstein. Yeah, God bless him. He put up with my shit. He put up with my procrastination. He put up with me. He dealt with me. He did. God bless you, Einstein. You're the best. And total subtext. Last thing, I stopped smoking. And for anyone that's ever had the addiction of nicotine, who's ever smoked cigarettes for years, let's just say I am in my early 40s. I started smoking cigarettes we'll just say 20 years. We'll say 20 plus years. And I know that the two things I've always heard about smoking cigarettes was that it fucks up your palate, and when you stop, you gain weight. Well, as far as I can tell you, yeah, it's kind of true. My palate's definitely opened up a little bit. So good. But if you're a sucker brewer, oh, I'm sorry getting called out. And not to sound like an old school MC, but yeah, we're going to call your bluff. We're going to call you out, homeboy. My palate is so Shaolin, Wu-Tang, razor sharp. I got it. I got it. Oh, that's one of the great things that's happened. One of the great positives that has come out of me being in the hospital, dealing with all this shit. My palate is finely tuned like a Hantu sword from Kill Bill. I'm sharp as shit. I'm good. I'm good. And so, yeah, stopping the smoking, that's definitely been the positive. The other thing, if you want to flip it, the negative has been that because of that, I'm a little more on edge. So I'm definitely going to be a little more vocal, a little more testy, impatient. I don't know. Depends on how you want to look at it. I'd leave it up to you. But one of the greatest things that I think that I've learned from this is that when people say life is too short, yeah, that's true. But my perspective, fuck, life is long. Life is long, and you cannot fuck that up. There's way too many things that you may want to live for, have to live for, need to live for. You gotta take care of yourself. Dudes and dudettes, you guys got it. I mean, I don't mean to sound preachy. You just gotta look out for you. Make sure you're doing you right. Watch your sugars. Watch what you take. Fuck, I had to re-up my gym membership. Yeah, your boy Greg at the gym. Fuck me. I know. I got it. I'm sorry. It sucks. I know. I don't want to be one of those fools, but I have a quote unquote gym bag with all that shit in there. I'm sorry. I got to. How else am I gonna drink all these, double IPAs, all this shit, and not be a fat fuck if I don't sweat a little bit, I don't work out a little bit, something. I got to do what I got to do. I don't mean to preach. If you're doing the same thing, trust me, it'll be helpful. I just don't want to lose any of you guys to type 2 diabetes, type 1 diabetes, whatever. I'm doing what I got to do. Hopefully you can do what you got to do. We'll get through this. We'll figure it out. We'll do what we got to do. I know that sounds repetitive. I'm sorry. All right. All that being said, once again, this is your boy Greg from the Beer Flow Podcast. Einstein in the back. Real deal back there. What's up? Here we go. Season 2. When we recorded these first couple episodes, it was pretty early in the year before all these injuries, all this shit went down. We had all this shit lined up. Like I said, we had a plan. We knew what we wanted to do on paper. So hopefully these episodes don't sound too stale. They don't sound too dated. We try to go for the evergreen effect. Real quick, the first 2 episodes we're talking about is when we went into the when we went into the second season, we broke it down as far as 2 episodes went. And the first 2 episodes we wanted to do was what makes me uncomfortable. And for those of you that have listened to the Beer Flow podcast, sours, I know. The first episode is Greg versus sours. We know how much I do not like, let's rephrase that. How I'm not the biggest fan of sours, but we got my boy Gooman, FOP, friend of the podcast. He, in a sense, took my hand, guided me through a small world of some sours that were available to us at that time in the area at an undisclosed location. Um, I know we kept alluding to the fact that it was kind of mysterious, and to this day, it's still somewhat mysterious. When we get a little bit more information, we'll definitely break it down as far as to what's going down. But we'll let you know. So, without further ado, sorry, let's go back. The second episode we did was once again, it's about making Greg uncomfortable. The second episode is about, I know, Greg versus the new school hip hop. I know. If you are a fan of the Beerful podcast, if you've heard some of the episodes, you know exactly how I feel about new school hip hop. You know that we here at the podcast, we call that golden era true school, not old school, true TRUE school, because it was that era laid the foundation as far as like the new school hip hop, and I think the new school hip hop absolutely does not give a shit and does not pay proper due or give recognition to that era. If it wasn't for that era, there would be no money made in the new school era of hip hop. We get that. They don't. That could be my old man get off the lawn stance, and that's fine. But what I did was I talked to my boy, one of the neighborhood chuckleheads, his child, who was about, well, we will just say he's young, but he's got a real huge big ear as far as like music is concerned, and he knows his shit. He does not screw around. He's got great ear. He's got an open mind, open heart. He knew. I think I mentioned it in our interview is that he knew Beatles lyrics before he knew Tupac lyrics, which I dare another parent, uncle, auntie, whatever, to say that their kid can say the same. I don't know any. I mean, really? You have a 16 to 18-year-old kid that knows the difference between Led Zeppelin lyrics and Beatles lyrics over Tupac lyrics? Come on, that's a rarity. So anyway, so we talked to my boy JT. He and I sat down for a conversation about new school hip hop. He let me know as far as like what I should be listening to, i.e., what our fans of the Beer Flow podcast should be listening to. And that's it. You guys should check it out. So season 2 is going to open up this way: Greg versus the Sours, and then Greg versus the new school hip hop. Hear these conversations. Hear these interviews. Hear what other people have to say to me. Because believe me, I'm way more susceptible to what other people have to say than what you may think. So check them out. I hope you enjoy. From everyone here at the Beerful Podcast, peace, love. I'll see you in a few. Peace.